everyone. Let me do a simple introduction about myself first because I believe like most of you is like the first time seeing me. Yep. So my name is Miss Felicia So you can actually call me Miss So just to let you know that for today's lesson, yep. So it is like completely free because yeah, Overmark usually has this kind of like activities once in a while, yeah, for like free lessons and all. Yep. So for today's lesson, we'll be doing on Sec 2 Science. Yep. So about me, yep. So I'm actually teaching O-level classes and IP classes. Yep. So I teach all three science, be it chemistry, physics, or biology. Yeah. So previously I actually graduated from NTU in science degree. Yeah, and that I've so far been teaching many years already actually. Yeah, so I've been like teaching IP sciences, O-level sciences for both upper sec and your lower sec. Yeah. And that previously I was also teaching like 7 years in Learning Lab. I think yeah, some of them they were with me lah since like Sec 1. Yeah. And that before Learning Lab, I was also teaching at another tuition center for 2 years called Wisland. Yep. Then I also did quite a lot of relief teaching in various MOE schools. Yep. And that previously I was also a private tutor. Is that your friend? Oh, okay. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, so right, yeah, so just to share with y'all, I think maybe some of y'all have never like known this brand like Overmark. So just to let you know that actually, we are a tuition center that we have like quite a few outlets. Yep. So there is also the Hougang outlet, there's Toa Payoh, there's Jurong East, as well as here, which is the Bukit Timah outlet. Hello, take a seat. You can sit anywhere you want. Yep. Yep. So today right now you are at the Bukit Timah outlet here. Yep, so for group tuition, for my classes, because I have been teaching many years in Nanyang, so my classes are specialized in Nanyang. That is also why our this event, we actually do it for Nanyang girls also, yeah, because I'm very familiar with the syllabus. Yep, so even for my classes here at Overmark, I think I don't know if y'all know Pei Han, yeah, she's actually in my Nanyang class. Yep, so my lessons are really a Nanyang class that has maximum 12 physical students, because for those who are physically here, you can see, right, total there are 12 seats. Yeah, and that my classes are like fully Nanyang class. So it's like exclusively for Nanyang students only. And then we will include WA revision. So the worksheets that you all will be receiving today is actually my tuition worksheet. That's why I was asking you like, hey, you sure you want to come again? It's like repeated stuff. Yeah, because it's actually the lesson materials I use during tuition. Yep, so I'll include WA revision as well as like end of year revision. Then during the class, we always do like topic by topic. Yeah, and then the class size, we purposely keep it small to be like maximum only 12, so that like later if you all have any questions, you can ask. Oh, the bubble tea is here. Yeah, I ordered like koi. Okay, okay, maybe after I finish my introduction, then I get you all the bubble tea. Okay, like if not like interrupt in between. Yep. So for today's lesson, feel free to ask me questions because it's like a small group setting. For those online, you can actually type it in the chat. I will keep very close lookout on the Zoom chat. Yeah, so you can ask me anytime you want. Then for the lessons here, yeah, we will provide you like the worksheets which you can see, which I hope those online have already downloaded. Yep. And then yeah, so if any of you later anything unsure, you can ask me after class. Yep. So yeah, so usually for Overmark here, we are a very welfare type of tuition center. So later also during the break time, if you want, you can actually go to the shelf behind there. There are actually free flow snacks. So if you can eat a lot, go ahead and just take as many as you want. Okay, so it's free flow snacks. If you want to like make Milo, there's also Milo packet. Then you can use the water dispenser to make. But my water dispenser only got hot water and room temp. Don't have cold water lah. Yep. So if you want to make hot Milo, yeah, you can go ahead later during the toilet break. Yep. Then usually like if you do well, we will also give you gift card rewards. Then once in a while, like our lessons, yeah, every few months once you order like bubble tea, which you all see today. Yeah, so I actually order a lot because it's for your plus my classes later. Yeah. Okay, so right, in case like maybe in future, if you are interested in tuition, so just to let you know for lower secondary rates, this is the rates. Then for upper set, it will be $10 more. Yep, so our lessons here are all 2 hours. Then we provide all the lesson material. That's why today you don't need to bring anything. I provide you everything. Yep, and then yeah, so usually the lesson there will be homework, but it's usually flexible because I feel that like you should actually bring home some practice because if you only see me once a week, I think you may not be able to remember everything I say. So good to like internalize and process the concepts. Yep, then nearing WA like today, it will be actually a mock test. So later you can see it's actually a mock test paper. Yep, like that. Yep, so yeah, so these are the resources and the events that we hold, like bubble tea and all. Yep, like that. Yep, so if in future you were to be interested to sign up, you can just contact me since all of you have I think all of you have my phone number, I believe. Yeah, since I texted all of you. Yep, so for Nanyang classes, it will only be at Bukit Timah outlet. Anyway, this is like the nearest to your school, right? Yeah. Yep, that's all. Okay, so yep, so let's begin with the lesson. Hold on, a little bit more than expected turnout for physical. So let me print it out. But hold on, not enough copies. Okay, okay. Sorry, because you came in late, may I know what's your name? Hi. How spell, sorry? Kailee, is it? Okay, okay, I remember texting you. Okay, let me distribute you all the bubble tea first before we start. Okay? Hold on, Sorry, don't online, hold on a moment, okay? Once I finish distributing the bubble tea, then I will start already. Hold on. Most of the straws are yours. You start your right one. Anyone didn't receive? All of you received, right? Everyone has straw also, right? Anyone don't have straw? All have, right? Okay, great. Okay. Yep, so done distributing the bubble tea. Yep, let's begin. You can enjoy it. Yep, you can start drinking now. Oh, by the way, for the bubble tea cup later, after your drink finish, sorry, cannot throw in the classroom because we don't want to attract pests. So later, maybe after the lesson, you're then on your way out, you then throw it outside. Okay, so let's begin. So just to check for those online, everyone has this material, right? Do anyone not have this material? Because I need you to highlight and all. So please sound it out before I start. So everyone has the lesson materials, right? Okay, great. So let's begin. So my lesson style is that whenever I highlight or I write anything, you follow me and write it into. Okay. So because it's only a 1.5 hours lesson and I need to like rush finish 2 big chapters. So I will just go through the main point. I don't want to go through every single thing because I feel that like you already know the chapter, right? I just highlight the like important points or like the common error points will do. Okay, so for this part over here, on chemical versus physical change, if question were to like maybe say a scenario, like maybe, oh, I have a maybe white solid, and then I have maybe another I got one white powder and I want a green, I have one green powder. Then if I were to heat it, suddenly the white and green became blue powder. Yeah, so if they were to say that way, then how do you explain? So whenever they ask you to explain, right, this will be the answer. So these 3 are the answers. So if you feel that, oh, there is like maybe properties of the products are different. So properties over here can refer to one of the most distinct one is color. Yep. So like just now I was saying, right, maybe white and green suddenly become blue. That means one of the physical property, which is like physical looks, like maybe my physical look, I'm very fair. So physical properties means color. So in this case, if the color is different, that means actually it is a chemical change. So this is what you should write in the explain answer. So this is like the marks allocated. Yeah, or else you can say that, oh, maybe from 2 substances like mixed together, suddenly got like 4 substances appear. So if there are new substances, this is also one of the key point. Yeah, or you can look in terms of the process, whether is it reversible. So usually for chemical reaction, like maybe if you were to heat sugar, then it will become caramel or it might even become black. Yeah, so this is actually irreversible. Because once sugar become caramel, you cannot convert it back to sugar anymore. Yeah, so this is the explanation for chemical changes. So another kind of question that they may ask you to write this as the answer is they ask you, explain the term chemical changes. So if they say explain the term chemical changes, you just write all of them in. So depending on the mark allocation, if it's 2 marks, you write 2 points. If it's 1 mark, then you just write 1 point will do. Okay, so this is the explain your answer and explain the term chemical changes. Okay. Then for physical change, it will be opposite. So physical change refers to the change in like physical states. Yeah, so something like boiling, freezing, melting. Yeah, so when you boil or freeze, water is still H2O, right? No matter what state it is. So that's why there's no new substance form. The properties are the same. Because if water is colorless, no matter you boil or you freeze it, it's still colorless. And then it is reversible. Because once you boil, you can actually condense it back. Okay, so done noting now, right? I move on. Okay, so moving on to the next part here, it will be there are different types of chemical reactions. All this, I leave it to you to study on your own. So mainly just wanted to go through with you that take note that decomposition, total, there are 3 types of decomposition. There is decomposition using heat, which is called thermal decomposition. There is also decomposition using light, as well as decomposition using electricity. Yep, so the one that use heat is called thermal decomposition because the word thermal means heat. Then if it's decomposition using light, that will be like, X-ray form. Sometimes you want to like maybe scan your bone, see whether got fracture or not. So originally the X-ray form is actually black in color. But once you shine the X-ray, the parts that has bone, it will actually reflect the light. So when they reflect the X-ray, it will make the film to become white color. Yeah, so Joy, you okay? You unmute your mic and then I hear some screaming. Is it okay? Okay, so I continue. Okay, so right, yeah, so that's X-ray. So X-ray is actually you are decomposing the X-ray film. Yep. So then it becomes white color to let you see the bone parts. Then next is electrolysis, is using electricity to break things down. And whenever we break down, when we use the word decomposition, take note that it must be single substance break down into many. That means like that, like one substance, you can break down into many. And the key point is you must start with only one substance. Because if you were to say that, maybe my reaction is I have maybe P plus Q, I break down to R, S, T, U, right? This one is not decomposition, okay? Because decomposition strictly has to be one substance break down into many. Yeah, so this one you start off with 2 substances, it is not considered as decomposition. Okay, sorry, hold on. Let me get Kaylee the worksheet. Sorry, I printed then I forget to take from you from the printer. Sorry. Okay, so let me test you, see whether you understand what is decomposition. Okay, so for example, if I were to say that if I have this calcium carbonate became carbon dioxide and calcium oxide. So do you all think this is a decomposition reaction or not? If you think it is, can those online click the yes button? If you think it's not decomposition, you click the no button. Then for those who are physically here, can y'all nod your head or shake your head? Do you all think is this a decomposition reaction? So how? Okay, I get like half the response from those physical. How about those online? Do you all think is it decomposition reaction for this chemical equation here? Can you click the yes, no button in reaction? If you can't find the yes, no button, you can click the thumbs up or set face for no. Thumbs up means yes. Yeah, you can just find any reaction to represent it. So how is it a decomposition reaction? Then how about the rest? Like, how come those online like so shy? I don't want to like click. Just clicking button though. Okay, so I hope you know the answer even though you didn't tell me. The answer is yes, this is a decomposition reaction. Because can you see it is one substance, single, you break down into many. Okay? Let me ask you another one. So if I were to have another example of, let me see, maybe another one. Maybe this. Then arrow, I get this plus this plus this. Yep, so now you see it's 2. I break down into more smaller pieces, right? I break down into 3. So for this reaction over here, is it a decomposition reaction? Yes or no? So how? How? Yes or no? Yep, so those physically here and Vina, yep, you are correct. The answer is no, this is not decomposition because decomposition must start with one. Over here, you have how many? You have two. So even though it became smaller pieces, but there are still two of them. So it's not single. So that's why it is not decomposition. Okay, so this kind of question might come out in your MCQ. Like they give you option A, B, C, D. Which of the following is a decomposition reaction? So need to recognize. Okay. Then next for combination reaction, likewise also, it must combine but can only form one substance. So that means a combination reaction would be like I have maybe P, Q, R. Then I form only one S. So can you see that you only form one substance? So the be it decomposition or combination, take note, you must either start from one substance or end with one substance. You cannot like have like multiple. Okay, so either start with one or end with one. You must always have a single compound. Okay, so now let me ask you again, see whether you can understand what is a combination reaction. Okay, so if I were to say that this time round, maybe I have this. Okay, I know my equation is not balanced, but just looking at this. So in this case, do you think is it a combination reaction? So for those online, can you all click like the yes, no button or tick and cross or like some reaction button to let me know? Do you all think is it combination reaction? Then how about those physically here? Okay, good. Those who responded, you are correct. Yep. So it is a combination reaction because in the end, you see, you only have one product. Yep. So it fulfills the rule of combination. Okay, so just take note. Always either start with one or end with one. You're done copying down the examples? I'm going to move on soon. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so moving on to the next part over here is that if they were to ask you on question, can you describe whether is it a chemical change or not? So if they ask you to describe, right, this will be the answer. Why? Because describe is usually things that you can see. Yeah, so describe is usually using your five senses. So it will be like color change, because you can see that there's color change. Then you can also see that there is solid things forming, right? And then you can also see bubbles, so that's gas. Or you can use your sense of touch, yeah, to touch and realize, oh, it became warm. That means there is heat produced. Or you can see that, oh, it's glowing, like, you know, like those like glow in the dark kind. Yeah, so if it glows, then you can see that there is light energy produced. Yeah, so these are actually things that you can describe that it is a chemical change. So take note of the difference between describe and explain. Describe, you use the answer here. If they ask you to explain, you use the on top one. So take note, describe versus explain. On top is explain, below is describe. Okay? Yeah, because describe is describe your observation. Yeah, so done for the first section of chemical changes. So moving on to the second section on chemical changes over here, you need to memorize all these formula because these are actually basic formula needed for your chemical equations. Yeah, so if you haven't memorized, I'll recommend that you start revising, like memorizing this way. It's very important because for my own classes also, I keep testing them and then like if they answer me wrongly, they didn't memorize, right? They will like get wet kind because I'll play like games with them with the wet heads. Yeah, so really must study, yeah, because this one like really it's like my class also. I forced them to study like when we started this chapter. Yeah, so if you haven't, must really start studying. Yep, so things that you need to remember will be anything in your periodic table that is in the L shape. You all know that L shape thing, right? Which is the group like 15, which is O, sorry, N, then O, then and then go down group 17. Yep, so all this, right, it will be actually diatomic. So that means this L shape in your periodic table. Do you all know what am I saying? So if you have periodic table, it's like N, then O, then F, then you go down, group 17. So take note that whenever it is this L shape plus hydrogen, they must all be diatomic. So diatomic means that it will be something to. Or another way to remember is that all the gen must be diatomic, like hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. And group 17 is called halogen. You'll learn this word soon. Yep, so halogen means group 17. So all the gen, they will all be diatomic. Yep, so that's why you can see here that oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen. Yep, this one is halogen. They will all be 2. So take note that they are only diatomic if they are alone on their own, like maybe oxygen is O2. But once oxygen combined with somebody else, maybe for example like water, do you realize water is no longer H2O2, right? Water is just H2O. Yeah, because once you combine with somebody, have to depend on your chemical bonding to decide like how many electrons to gain, lose, or share. Yeah, so only when they are alone, like hydrogen alone, oxygen alone, they are O2, H2, N2. But once you combine with somebody, it is no longer diatomic. Okay, so don't get confused. Once you combine with somebody, it is not diatomic anymore. Okay, then next is some other formulas which are easier to remember, like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. This time should be don't need study, right? Because mono just means one, then di just means two. Yeah, so that means in this case, nitrogen dioxide means one nitrogen and two oxygen. So it's dioxide. Yeah, then sulfur dioxide also, it means that sulfur and two oxygen. Then I would say that the ones that you really need to memorize by heart, it will be these two gases, methane and ammonia. So methane, what is methane? Methane is actually one of the gas in our farts. Yeah, so you know when you fart, methane is one of them. But actually methane is not the smelly gas. It's the other gases that are smelly. It's just methane is one of the gases that are released during the fart. Okay, so methane is like in fart, ammonia is in pee. Yeah, so you know sometimes toilet you got this very smelly pee smell. So the smelly pee smell is ammonia gas. So need to memorize the chemical formula. Methane is CH4, ammonia is NH3. Okay, then take note of the difference between ammonia versus ammonium. Ammonium is not a gas, okay? Only ammonia is then a gas. So ammonium is actually an ion, which usually you will combine with an anion. Okay, so I shall move on anyway. What I've just mentioned just now are all shown over here at the bottom too. Okay, so on this page, the only ones you need to memorize, it will be these three only, because the rest I think you should know. Okay, so make sure you memorize these three. Have you all placed a star? So for the chemical formula, those that I put star means you really need to memorize it. Okay, so make sure you put a star. Okay, so I shall move on. Okay, so moving on to the next page over here are the acids. Yep, so for all these acids, all need to memorize. Yep. So like if I ask you what is sulfuric acid, you must immediately tell me H2SO4. Because you know that in the next part on acid bases, you need to know, right, like acid plus like metal, what do you form? So you need to be able to write out the chemical formula of all the acid. So all these acid formula need to memorize by heart. Okay. So how to remember? So one method is that because acid, in the chapter of acid bases, you know that they will dissociate or ionize to form H plus ions. That's why all of them will have the H. So then for the right side, how to remember and how many H you have. So you have to memorize the chemical formula for like sulfate, phosphate, and nitrate. Yep, which is actually shown on the next page over here. Yep. So for nitrate, it's like over here. So if you want to form nitric acid, so it will be like, you know, H is always H plus, right? Because acid form H plus ions. Then for nitrate, I'm on the next page, by the way. Yeah, so nitrate is NO3 is 1 minus. So what you do is you do the cross. So that means this one, you bring down the number only without the charge. So it times 1. This one is also 1 plus, right? You times 1. So that's why in the end, it's just HNO3. So this is the chemical formula of your nitric acid. Yeah, but I won't recommend you to like that do the working, because if you do like that, it's very slow. In your WA already no time already. So you really need to like, you know, spend time at home to go and memorize it. Then once the question say nitric acid, you can immediately write out the answer as HNO3. Yep, so this is one way like if you can't remember a chemical formula, you can do this cross thing. So likewise for sulfuric acid also, sulfuric acid is H plus and you must memorize. Sulfate is SO4 2 minus. So if you were to do this cross, you copy everything except the charge. So I copy like SO and 4. Just don't copy charge. Likewise for the on top also, I copy NO3, just don't copy the charge. Then next, you do the cross. And when you do the cross, you only bring down the number. So that means this H is 1 plus, you times 1, which is back to H, which is back to SO4. Then over here, this number here is 2. You bring down, it will be 2. That's why the chemical formula of sulfuric acid is H2SO4. Okay, so acid formula you can also still deduce using all this formula. Yeah, but I'll recommend that you just memorize directly to save time during WA. Okay, so done for the acid. So you can also continue to do likewise for phosphoric acid also. Yeah, you will also get the same answer too. Okay, so done for acid. Sorry, I go back to the previous page. So done for acid. Next part is alkali. So the commonly tested ones for alkali will be sodium hydroxide and your lime water, which is calcium hydroxide. So nowadays, since you are in secondary school already, I'll recommend that whenever question, you need to write the word lime water, try to write calcium hydroxide. Because once you go to upper sec, actually lime water is no longer accepted. So why not do like the correct way at the start, like cultivate the correct habit, then you don't need to change when you go to upper sec. Yeah, so whenever they mention about like you need to write about lime water testing, maybe for carbon dioxide, they already say that, oh, bubble the gas through calcium hydroxide instead. Okay, calcium hydroxide. So for these two also, you can also do this cross method to do it. So calcium, if you check periodic table, is 2+. Hydroxide need to memorize. So the chemical formula for hydroxide will be here, OH minus. So that's why if I were to write OH minus over here, then you do the cross. So I will copy everything except the charge. So this is 1 minus, so I times 1. So calcium times 1 is back to calcium. Then this is 2. When you times downwards, it will be bracket 2. So remember to put bracket. So when to put bracket and when don't put bracket? When there are plural, that means 2 or more object, plural, right? Must put bracket. When only got 1, like over here, you see, only got 1 H. When you times 2, don't need bracket. So that means singular, don't need bracket. Plural, like O and H plural, you put bracket. Okay, so that's how you tell to put bracket or not. Singular, put bracket. Plural, sorry, singular, don't put bracket. Plural, put the bracket. Okay, then yep, so next part over here, for this list of ions, although it looks like very, very long, there is no need to memorize every single thing. There are shortcuts. Okay, so for those that has the spelling of IDE, by the way, if you have different color highlighter, like I would say 2 colors, maybe can you take out 2 different color highlighters now? Okay, so for the first color, I'll do it in orange. So if you see the spelling ending with IDE, this is the easiest. Because whenever it is IDE, right? Don't highlight hydroxide, except hydroxide. You highlight until phosphide. So you highlight 6 of them. So can you highlight the first 6 IDE? The first 6 IDE. So whenever the spelling is IDE, is the easiest. Why? Because you just check periodic table, you can have the answer. So let me show it to you. So I also written over here. Can you see? IDE means is the ion form, the charge form of the atom. So you just check periodic table to know the charge. You all know the charge, right? Is the what? Plus 1, 2, 3, then minus 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so you base on the periodic table to know the charge. So IDE don't need study. You can just check periodic table. It is the ATE that is the more difficult one. So ATE, can you take a second color highlighter to highlight it? Yep, so there are 4 ATE. So for the 4 ATE, okay, so by right, usually I will recommend that you just directly memorize. Like nitrate is NO3, 1 minus. So take note, this is 3 oxygen, charge is only 1 minus, okay? So it's 3 oxygen, charge 1 minus. So how to remember all this? By right, should just memorize by heart. But you know, sometimes in exam, like under very stressful condition, you know, WA, total silence, and then like got timing, like need to finish by a certain time. Then if you are stressed, then sometimes you might blank out, right? I have a backup plan for you. Okay, so I'm going to write it at the bottom here. Yep, so you all follow me and write it down. So how to remember all the ATE formula? Okay, so I'll go by this mnemonic called Nick the Camel ate supper at this place called Phoenix. Okay, you all copy this down first before I start explaining. So this is in case you black out. I hope you don't use this method because it's a bit time consuming. But although this method is time consuming, but it can still give you the answer, you know, in emergency times. Okay, so what does Nick the Camel ate supper at Phoenix? How to help you memorize formula of nitrate, carbonate, sulfate, and phosphate? So take note that I am only focusing on the keywords, which are the capitalized ones. The 8 are just like connection words, which I'm going to ignore them. Okay, so for Nick, as you can tell, it will tell you the chemical formula of nitrate. Then Camel will tell you the chemical formula for carbonate. Then S for sulfate and P for phosphate. So how to know like how many O and how much charge? So we will go by the number of consonants and number of vowels. So the number of consonants, you all know what's consonants, right? Consonant means not A, E, I, O, U. Okay, that means all alphabets except A, E, I, O, U. This one will tell you the number of oxygen. Then as compared to wait, I no space, okay, I just try to squeeze it in. Number of vowels, which is the A, E, I, O, U, it will tell you the charge. And the charge is negative charge. Okay, so how do we use this? Okay, so let me demo it using the word Nick. So those online, just a reminder to copy it down. Okay, so for the first one, Nick, let's count how many consonants are there. So for Nick, there is N, C, K. So if there's N, C, K, there are 3 consonants. That's why the answer is 3 oxygen. Then in Nick, how many vowels we have? Nick only got letter I. So 1 vowel, it will be 1 negative. Then you check with the table on top. Nitrate is really NO3 and charge 1 minus, right? So that's how you get the formula. Yeah. Okay, then let's take a look at camel. So camel also same thing. Let's count the number of consonants. So camel is CML, correct? Consonants. So that means there are 3 oxygen. So O3. Then next, how many vowels? Camel got A and E. So A and E is 2. So that's why it's 2 negative. So you check the above with the table on top. Carbonate is really CO3 2 minus, right? So you want to give it a try to do for supper and Phoenix. Go and count how many consonants are there. So it's S and what else? Then see whether can you get the correct answer. Once you're done, you check with the table on top. So how do you manage to get SO4 2 minus and PO4 3 minus? Okay. Yeah, so this method, as you can see, is a bit time consuming. So you need to like count. Then this is only just the formula, you know. You haven't even had the entire chemical formula of the substance. Like maybe if I say I got calcium carbonate, then like what's the answer? You still need to figure out. Then after you figure out calcium carbonate, you still need to write the equation. After you write the equation, you need to go and count the atoms to balance it. So it's very time consuming. So the thing is, go and memorize directly so that you can save up on times for generating the formula. You can have time to go and balance the equation and do the other questions. Okay, so yep, so back to the top over here. So just now we highlighted until somewhere here. So the next thing is that need to know that hydroxide, although it is IDE, is a little bit special case because hydroxide is made up of 2 things. It's made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Yeah, that's why you don't look at it as an IDE because the spelling is different already. It's a combination of 2 things. That's why it's oxygen and hydrogen combined together and the charge is 1 minus. Why? Because oxygen, the charge is -2. H, the charge is +1, right? -2 and +1, overall 1 minus. That's why it's OH minus because you combine 2 together, charge is -1. Okay, then the next part over here, this is easy because as long as it's transition metal, they will tell you the charge because they will give you the Roman numeral. And this is also one of the careless mistakes among students. Like example, if I give you this, maybe FeOH3, then I ask you, what is the chemical name? So a lot of students, they see iron, then they write iron. Then OH is hydroxide. So if you write this is incorrect. This is one of the common careless mistakes among students. Do you all know why the answer is wrong? Yes, you must write the chart. So must include the Roman numeral 3. So a lot of students tend to careless and forget to put the Roman numeral. Please don't be one of them, okay? Always remember to include the Roman numeral for transition metals. And by the way, in case some of you are wondering, why is it 3? Okay, how does this 3 link to the iron? It's because you do the cross. So this time round, it is like that. Yeah, so can you see that Fe only got 1 is because OH is 1 minus. Then how come OH is 3 is because Fe is 3 plus. So remember, we always transfer down the number without transferring down the charge. Okay, then next, although zinc is a transition metal, silver also transition metal, but they don't write the Roman numeral. Do you realize? Because zinc and silver is the transition metal that they often exist as just that one version. So zinc usually exists as 2 plus, silver usually exists as 1 plus. So that's why they just take it that they chemists assume that, oh, you know that zinc usually 2 plus, silver usually 1 plus. That's why they never write the Roman numeral. Okay, so that's why this one you have to memorize by heart. So can you put a star for this? And can you also put a star for all the ATEs? So on top, if you see any that has the word ATE, can you put the star? So that means for this page, which are the ones they need to memorize by heart? It will be the Nick the Camel series, which are the ATEs, as well as zinc and silver. The rest don't need to study, because the rest you can either check periodic table or the Roman numeral tell you the charge. Okay, then lead a little bit special. Although it is in group 14, the charge is not 4. You follow the Roman numeral. So the charge is 2 plus instead. Okay, so done. I shall move on. You're done noting now, right? Okay, so continue on to the next part. By the way, just to let you know, for your lower sec syllabus, just need to know IDE and ATE will do. ITE don't need. ITE is for upper sec. I'm just skipping it here because like the notes can also use for upper sec. Okay, so moving on to the next part over here. So let's test whether you know the basic stuff. Maybe you can use your hand to cover the answer away. Then can you give it a try to see whether you know? So things to take note is that whenever it's covalent, that means non-metal and non-metal, the name will tell you what the formula is. Don't need to do the cross. Okay? So that means you just look at the name. Silicon. So then, sorry, I didn't provide you periodic table. Do you all have periodic table from school? Maybe you take out your periodic table. Anyone like some of you are sitting as partners, right? Anyone don't even have periodic table, then I bring for you. All of you have? Anyone like don't have need to print a copy for you? Yeah, so you check periodic table. What's the alphabet for silicon? Then you just write down what is silicon. Kylie, do you need me to print a periodic table for you? Again, sorry? Oh, okay, but like for now, for today, you will need it, right? Let me see. I print one copy for you. Can I just lend you? Then I put it my print out again. You just be careful, okay? Don't draw on it. So you just follow the name. If they say silicon, silicon, what's the alphabet? What is silicon? Si. Then dioxide means di is 2, right? 2 what thing? 2 oxygen, right? Then O2. Yeah. Then can you continue to do the rest? After you are done, you can check the answer with the answer key. Yeah. I have another friend who says just to join his halfway there. Yeah, she can just log in. Does she have the login details? Have. Okay, yeah, then can. Because there are a lot of mine also now. Yeah. So how anyone else need me to lend you periodic table? Yeah, those at home should have periodic table, right? Since you're at home. Okay, so after you are done with this and done checking your answer, can you write this down, the ones in red? So take note, okay, whenever it's non-metal, must have the word monoditride, must have. For non-metals, can you write it down? This is important. Whenever it is non-metals, purely non-metals, must have the word monoditride, okay? Then as long as one of them is metal, cannot have monoditride anymore. as long as one atom is a metal, do not ever write monoditri. That's why just now, I don't know whether you remember the iron hydroxide case, I never use the word like iron trihydroxide. No, I don't use the word tri. Because once got metal, do not use monoditri, okay? So please take note. Whenever got metal, just one of them metal only. Cannot use monoditri anymore. So I take it that all of you should be done by now for the first 5. Done, right? Okay, so I shall move down. So for the next part, this one is the one that I'm saying that whenever got metal, then take note, don't use the word monoditri. So let's take a look at the first example here. So what you do is you always copy down everything except the charge. So I copy down Al, I copy down O, then you cross. And when you cross, you only bring down the number. So I bring down 2 and bring down 3. That's why the chemical formula will be Al2O3. Okay. Then next, what is the chemical name? Remember, don't use monoditride. So if you see aluminium, just write aluminium. If you see oxygen, don't write trioxygen, okay? So, but cannot call aluminium oxygen, right? So we'll call it as aluminium what thing? Oxide. So remember that the second word, the spelling must always be IDE or ATE. Okay, the second word cannot be the original spelling anymore. So second word is always end with IDE or ATE. Then now, likewise, can you continue to finish up the rest of them? Yeah, finish up the other 2. Okay, then once you are done, you can actually check the answer with below. For the state symbols part is okay because last time when I was making this note, I made it last year. Yep. So for your seniors, they are required to do state symbols, but once reach your batch don't need. So this part you can just ignore. Yep. So once you are done, you can check the answer with the below. So for calcium oxide, take note that because when you do the cross, there is the 2, right? And 2. So take note that 2 and 2, like in math, 2 over 2, you always simplify to become 1. That's why for calcium oxide, the 2 you should cancel off. That's why become 1 calcium and 1 oxygen only. Okay. Okay, so I shall move on. Should be done by now, right? Okay, so next is balancing chemical equation. So when you balance chemical equation, this is usually the method that I do because if you go and count one atom by one atom, it will be very slow. Yeah, because in test it's like not enough time. So this is how me as a teacher I balance my equation. I always balance my metals first, then the polyatomic. Polyatomic refer to this kind. That means inside one got many atoms. So that means like easy got 1n plus 4h, that's 5. 1n plus 3o, that's 4. So as long as they are made out of like, plural, yeah, like made out of many atoms in one chemical formula, that will be called polyatomic ions. Then I'll balance the rest. Okay, so over here to have polyatomic. So maybe I use something that has polyatomic like over here to demo to you. Okay, so over here, since I mentioned that step 1, I balance metals, you watch how I balance. So hopefully it will be faster. Or if you're using this method already, then that's good. Okay, so first, I don't need to write out the numbers one. Yeah. So I will check metals. Metals, it will be Na, right? So step 1 is metal. So it will be Na. So I'll check 2 sodium and 1 sodium. So, oh no, not balanced, right? So I'll add in the number 2, because 2Na and 2Na, then balance. So no more, got any more metals? Have, right? There is still one more metal, which is Ca. So Ca is 1 Ca and 1 Ca balance. Okay, so done for metals. Moving on to the next one, it will be the polyatomic ions. So polyatomic ions, it will be like those that you need to memorize, the Nick, the Camel series, all the ATEs. So this time around, it will be like carbonate. So if I have 1 carbonate here, I have 1 carbonate here. So yeah, it is balanced. So polyatomic, no more already. So it's balanced. Then lastly, it will be the rest. So what am I left with? I'm left with chloride. I have 2 chlorine and 2 times chlorine. So that means this time around also balanced. So done. So this will be my answer. Okay, so let me demo to you one more time in case you are not sure. So first is always balance the metals. So first, how many calcium metal do I have? 1 and 1. Okay, so it is balanced. Any more metals? No more. Metals you know, right? Is the zigzag line, the left side. Okay, then step 2, it will be the polyatomic ions. So for polyatomic ion, this time around, it will be also happen to be carbonate. So I have one carbonate here. In a way, it's like carbonate. So don't worry, even though this is not exactly the same like carbonate, it's all right. Because this carbonate here, it will actually split to CO2 and the missing O will go to water. But once you balance like everything else, later the oxygen will somehow balance on its own. Yeah, it will naturally balance out automatically. So no worry. So you just balance CO2 will do. So one carbonate is like one carbon dioxide. So yeah, balance already. Then next, I will balance the rest. So what are the rest? So I have like chlorine, 1 chlorine and 2 chlorine. So this is different, right? So that's why I have to put in the number 2 in front. So that's why it's 2 chlorine and 2 chlorine. So now balanced. What else do I left with? I also left with H. There's 2H and there is 2H. So it's balanced. So that's how you see, done. Once you balance the H, right, the O is naturally balanced. So you see that one missing oxygen will come here. So it's settled. So actually don't need to worry about the difference in the oxygen from carbonate to carbon dioxide because it will naturally balance out on its own. Okay, so now maybe can you give it a try for the below one, the third one? Yeah, same thing also. Try not to look at the answer below, okay? Yeah, you give it a try. Then once you are done, you check the answer below. Hey, Sophia, I realized you started wearing contact lens, is it? Oh, last time I thought you wore specs. Am I right? So, how come no more specs? Oh. Done right. Okay, so yep, like that. So you just check your answer with the below then. Okay, so done for chemical equations. So the third section will be acid and bases. So take note that for the definition for acids, you must always have these 3 key points: dissociate or ionize, hydrogen ion, and dissolve in water. Must always have these 3 keywords. If you miss out any keyword, then your mark is gone. So must have all 3 keywords. Okay, then let me ask you a question. So if my question says that I take HCl powder, in this case, can you tell me, is HCl powder, we see that acids usually have these properties, right? Sour taste, conduct electricity. So if I take HCl powder, I test whether it can conduct electricity or not. So in this case, can you tell me a yes or no? Can HCl powder conduct electricity? Can or not? Then how about the rest of you? How about those online? Can HCl powder conduct electricity? And the rest of you who are physically here, not sure. Only the 2 of them at the back reacted. Then how? Do you all know? Not sure. So good that you all come for tuition today. Okay, so the answer is no. It is not acidic. Why? Because the rule is it must be dissolved in water. HCl powder is dry, so there is no powder, okay? So that's why, yep, it's not acidic. Yeah, HCl powder is solid state. Okay, so that means it won't taste sour, it won't conduct electricity, it won't change the litmus paper color. Okay, then another one, let me ask you, this time around maybe powder. But then since I say, powder not solid, as the powder is solid, let me change it to dissolve. So I go and dissolve it. I go and dissolve in ethanol. So now, likewise, can you all tell me, do you all think HCl powder is acidic or not? Is HCl powder now in ethanol, is it acidic? How about those online? Can tell? Yes or no? How? Is it acidic? Answer is no. Oh, very good. Pei Han and Isabel, correct. Yeah, so answer is no. It's not acidic. So why? Because this time round, you must take note. It must be strictly dissolved in water. Is this water? No, right? This is ethanol. So it is not acidic, okay? Yep, so that's why not acidic. So be careful. These are the questions that teacher can test you to trick you. Yeah, once they change from water, maybe become ethanol, then yeah, it is no longer acidic. Okay, so how do you recognize acid? Usually the name has the word acid. Okay, then next is for the physical properties. Yeah, it will taste sour. That's why usually one of the common acid is like citric acid found in citrus fruits like orange, lemon. Yeah, they will be sour. Then they will conduct electricity. Then if the teacher asks you maybe for citric acid can they conduct electricity? Question mark. Explain your answer. Full stop. So if they ask you can conduct electricity or not, you say yes, can conduct electricity when dissolved in water. Then when they ask you explain your answer, please use answering technique. So answering technique is always for explanation. So whenever they ask you explain, make sure you have these few keywords that teacher always look out for. Number one, you must mention that there are mobile ions. And these mobile ions can act as mobile charge carrier. You can either write mobile charge carriers or you can say that they can carry charge, also can. Either carry charge or mobile charge carrier. Okay, carry charge also can. Then you answer back the question, can conduct electricity. And usually 1 mark question must have 2 key points. So yep, 2 key points, 1 mark. Okay, so this is how you write. So this is a model answer. Please go and memorize it. Once you write it in, you can score full marks already. Okay, then next is the litmus paper. I think you all should know. So acid is usually very dangerous, very scary. Yeah, acid will actually cause acid burns. So that's why since acid is so scary, think of red color because red color is usually the danger color. Yep, so let me just show you this image easier for you to remember. Just to let you know that we are actually very fortunate being in Singapore because out there in other countries, right, there are actually people who are suffering, like for example, acid attack in India. So for acid attack, right, is that usually the law there is very biased towards the male. So it's like do you know that India is also the country with the highest rape case? So it's like every day there are women being raped. And why? Because the law is really totally biased, like in favor for the guy. So maybe if they rape any woman, right, it's just maybe just some fine of few $100s. Do you think it will deter them or stop them from committing the offense again? It won't stop them, right? Yeah, so same for here also, like they find that, how come the wife talking to the male neighbor or maybe male cousin, then like must be your face too pretty, right? Then they will pour acid onto their face. Or that, why are you looking at other guy? Why are you looking at your male neighbor? Then I dig out your eyes, that's why you see her eyes is gone. Yeah, so that's why like for India, it's like this kind of like acid attack is very, very common lah. Yeah, you can see it's a lot one. It's like it's worse than murder. Yeah, so so from here, I hope to let you know that actually we are very fortunate like being in Singapore. Yeah, and that seeing all these images shows you that there's a lot of rape. Yeah, so this shows you that acid is very dangerous. So please think of acid being very, very dangerous. Danger color is red, right? Like example, like fire brigade is also red, ambulance also red. Yeah, so that's why acid is so dangerous, always red. So that means same for universal indicator, also red. For the methyl orange, also red. So usually as long as you got indicator, acid tend to be red. Okay, then this part not that important. Let's move on. The equation I'll go through later. All these users can you go and study on your own. Can need to at least state 2 users. Like if they ask you where can you use acid at, what are the 2 users? State at least 2. Then this part I mentioned to you many times already. Take note that you must dissolve in water. Even liquid state don't count. By the way, what's the difference between liquid and aqueous? Liquid is like, chocolate, you melt it under the hot sun. That's liquid state. But once I add water, like maybe I make a chocolate bubble tea, so then I add water in, right? Then it will be considered dissolved in water. Okay, so this one is got water. Liquid state is don't have water, just the melted form. So melted form also don't conduct electricity, not acidic, not sour. Okay, so moving on to the next page over here on bases. So for bases, how to recognize them? They are usually metal oxide and metal hydroxide. I'm on the next page. Yep, so for base is usually metal with oxygen or metal with OH. Yep, so take note that for base is a big category. You can subdivide into alkali and base. So for alkali, it will be can dissolve in water. So how to remember which are alkali? So it will be group 1, like sodium, potassium, right? So that's why it's SP, calcium, C, A. You know the Animal Shelter SPCA Foundation? I don't know whether you all know or not. Yeah, so SPCA, oxide or hydroxide, right? They will be soluble in water. That's why you see the definition for alkali, it will be same thing because they can dissolve in water, soluble in water. That's why the definition is the same 3 key points again. Number 1, must have the word dissociate or ionize. Number 2, hydroxide ions. Number 3, dissolve in water. So same thing, okay, must have all 3 key points to get the definition mark. Please memorize that. The definition of acid and alkali keep coming out very often. You need to know. But then take note, for base, right, you don't use the definition. You realize the base definition is different because base is insoluble. Since you cannot dissolve in water, that's why base, the definition is different. It's just a chemical reaction. Base always react with acid to form salt. Okay, so take note, so cannot use the dissolve in water definition for base. Okay, so then yeah, as long as they are not SPCA, oxide or hydroxide, you will put it under base. Okay, so now let me test you and see whether you can differentiate between acid, base, alkali, and salt. Okay, so I'm going to write on a blank screen. You see whether is there some space like on the notes, maybe this page or the any other page. Yeah, so we are just going to write down some examples. Okay, so now you need to tell me which one is it. Okay, so is it different options? Let me give you maybe option A, is it acid? So I'm going to give you a different chemical formula. You tell me, is it acid, base, alkali, or salt? So for those online, if you want to participate, you can just type it in the private message. You can send it to me, then I can check for you, see whether is it correct or not. Okay, so it's like MCQ question. Okay, so first, if I give you a chemical formula, how do you know it's an acid? As mentioned, acid must have H ion, right? Yeah, because acid always dissociate to form H plus ions when dissolved in water. Between base and alkali, this two is always metal with oxygen or metal with hydroxide. So take note that only if they are SPCA, oxide hydroxide, if the metal is SPCA, is alkali. If it's not SPCA, you put them under base. Then the rest will be salt. So salt, usually it is metal plus non-metal. Usually lah. Yeah, so this is salt. So salt, since it's metal plus non-metal, we'll call it as salt. Is always known as an ionic compound. Because remember ionic bonding at the start of this year, your WA1 topic, right? Yeah, so ionic compound is always metal plus non-metal. Okay, so let's try out one of it. Because why is there a need to recognize them? Because if they give you a reaction, you need to tell what it is, right? If you can't recognize what it is, then how do you know? Is it an acid plus base, or acid plus carbonate, or acid plus metal reaction? Yeah, so need to be able to recognize them. Then you can identify the correct equation. Okay, so for example, if I were to give you this, just now I keep using this, right? So in this case, is it acid, base, alkali, or salt? So for those who are physically present here, maybe instead of A, B, C, D, can you point me like 1, 2, 3, 4 instead? Or maybe let me just change it. Yeah, so those online also, if you know the answer, can you type it in the chat to let me know? Then those physically here, maybe can you point your finger? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? What's the answer? For calcium carbonate, is it under, which category is it under? Calcium carbonate. Can tell? Isabel, not correct. You want to try again? So how? Yes, correct. Yep, correct. So the answer, it will be, yep, correct. Joy is correct. Yep, the answer is 4. It's under salt. So SPCA over here refers to sodium, potassium, calcium, and ammonium. Clear now? Okay, come, let's try out one more. So now from the letter C, CaCO3, maybe I change it to Ca. I remove one C. So I remove the C and the O. So like that. Okay, then in that case, CaO. What do you think is the answer? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Yeah, correct. Yep, Isabel correct too. So how the rest of you want to try? Yep, Joy is correct too. Okay, so the rest of you not sure. Okay, so the answer is alkali, number 3. Why? Because Ca is calcium oxide, right? Then metal oxide. Then this metal oxide is calcium. So calcium is alkali. Okay, then next one. So maybe another formula, maybe I give you let's see. This So in this case, which one is it? Which category is it under? H2SO4. Can you also copy it down? Yeah, correct. Yep, correct. Yep, Peihan correct too. Yep, correct. Yep, Joy and Anthea correct too. The answer is acid. Yep, why? Because for this case, there is H, right? So H, that means it's acid. No? Okay, then next, if I were to change to maybe the H, if I change to Na, what category is under? So can you all tell me the answer again if I change to Na? So how? No. Because this is considered as sulfate. Oxide is a O, hydroxide is OH. So you cannot take it as an oxide. Because this one whole group, the name is called sulfate. Yep, Peihan and Isabel correct. Yep, correct too. Yep. The answer is salt. Okay, because this one you cannot take it as oxide because this whole group is known as sulfate, right? You cannot go and break them up. They are one whole group, okay? Yeah, so you cannot break them up. So that's why you look at it as sulfate, not oxide. That's why this is like metal and non-metal, so it's under salt. Okay, then next, if I change the SO4, I change it to this. So in this case, which category is it under? Can tell? Which category is NaOH under? Yes, correct. Both of you behind, correct. No. Good try. Yep, Sophia correct. Yep, Chelsea also correct. So, yep. That's En, right? Yeah, En correct also. Yep, so the answer is for Anthea's answer not correct. Okay, so this is actually alkali. Why? Because it's metal hydroxide, right? Then metal hydroxide, and then this is sodium. So sodium is S, so it's an alkali. Okay, yep, so like that. Yeah, so I will stop here lah, because I still need to go through other stuff. Yeah, so need to be able to recognize, then you know what kind of reaction is happening. Okay, so I take it that you all are done copying, right? You all were copying while I was writing, right? Okay, so I change back to the notes. Okay, so yeah, next is need to know the physical properties. So generally for alkali, they are bitter, slippery, and then same thing. If they ask you to explain, please memorize the answering technique. And this answering technique actually is the same as the acid one. Nothing new. Okay, it's just you just need to change the ion name only. Instead of hydroxide ion, you change it to hydroxide ion instead. So it's still the same 2 key points. Okay? 2 key points to get 1 mark. Then since for alkali is commonly found in soap, as you can see from the users here, like oven cleaners, like oven soap, used in like toothpaste, their cleaning solution. Yeah, since they are soap, so that's why soap is usually when you shower, right? And shower will make you feel cooling. So think of cool colors. So for litmus paper, it will also become cool colors like blue. Universal indicator also become blue. Okay, then next, the chemical properties I'll go through behind. Then users, please at least go and memorize 2, because sometimes they might ask you state 2 users. So need to at least remember 2. Okay, so I shall move on. Okay, so for the next page, these are the chemical equations. So your teacher did ask you, right? Must memorize acid plus metal, you get salt and hydrogen gas. Acid plus carbonate, you get this. But it's like, ayo, everything is like you need to memorize like hard, very hard, right? Yeah, so I have mnemonics again, like Nick the camel just now like that. Okay, so another mnemonic over here. Yep, shown here. So how to remember the base plus acid equation? You go by bash. You know, you bash people up. Bash. Yeah, so go by BASH. So B for base, A for acid. You'll get S for salt, H for H2O. Or else you go by cash. You know, cash money. You know, recently quite funny. Like sometimes like kids, right? They like to always point this. Because you know nowadays like we are like quite influenced by South Korea, right? Always like ting ting ting. No, so kids usually when they take photo, they also like post like that. Then I ask them, what does this mean? Then they will say, oh, heart shape on love. Then I say, no, it means money. Have you heard before? For the adults, sometimes they will do this as money. Yeah, so I tell them, no, not heart shape, not the money. Okay, just my own internal joke. Okay, so anyways, yeah, money, cash. Okay, so think of the heart shape for cash. Okay, so for cash, it will be CaSH. So C for carbonate, A for acid, S for salt, H for H2O. But I think you all should know common sense that carbonate sure form carbon dioxide, right? So after cash, you plus carbon dioxide. Okay, so just cash plus carbon dioxide, because carbonate form carbon dioxide. Or else another one is the metal acid reaction. You go by mash. You know, mash things up like mashed potato. Yeah, so mash is MASH. So it's metal acid salt. Take note, this H, right, is not H2O. This H is H2. Can you just take note? Metal acid reaction, you form hydrogen instead. So one of the common questions that teacher will ask is that they'll ask you maybe which one is a common final product. So take note that for all reaction, definitely will have salt, not water, because you see the last equation don't have water. Okay, so the correct answer is salt. Yeah, because all equations sure have salt. Even this alkaline one, you see the base one also got salt. Okay? And by the way, what is salt? Salt is always metal plus non-metal. Yep. Or if it's not acid, not base, not alkaline, you'll be under salt. Okay, so then yeah, so this is how you remember the chemical equations. Yeah, so these are tips that I usually teach at tuition because school always just tell you matter of fact, but tuition is to like make your studying easier. Yeah, so help you all to make it easier. So hopefully easier to remember for your this WA. Okay, then next is if take note, especially for acids, unreactive metals, please go and memorize this. For this, like the favorite trick question, highlightly will come up for your WA also, is that whenever they use these four metals, right, take note, won't have bubbles one, okay, won't have hydrogen gas because they are unreactive, okay, only these four. And this one is quite easy to remember because it's like the ones you use in jewelry making, or like, you know, metal, like gold, silver, the bronze. Bronze is like you mix copper in because copper is brown, plus this metal called platinum. Platinum is a very expensive metal that is actually used to make jewelry, like rings, necklace and all, but it's so expensive that people don't commonly use it. That's why it's not as like common. That's why you might not know about it. So usually people will go for cheaper alternative like gold and silver. That's why I think gold and silver you all know better. Yeah, platinum very expensive because it is unreactive. That's why when you shower or anything or wash hand, wash soap, yeah, it doesn't react away. It will remain its like shiny appearance. Okay, so if they were to say that copper react with acid, just right now, no reaction. Okay, don't write salt and hydrogen gas. It's trying to trick you. Okay, then next is observation. So take note, all equation must have three things. Equation, observation, and test for gas. Take note of the difference. Observation is what you see during the experiment. So now that you are in secondary school, can you don't use the word bubbles anymore? Anyway, upper sec, they also won't accept bubbles. Please use the word effervescence. Keywords, please spell correctly. And when you write effervescence, must write down the color and the smell. So it's effervescence of colorless and odorless gas will be observed. If they only ask for 1 mark, this is the main answer. If they need 2 or 3 marks, these are the other possible answer. So this whole page, right, can you just go and memorize by heart? Yeah, memorize the whole page. Can you write down? So these are all model answer. So whenever teacher asks you state the observation, you just so-called copy and paste, you can get full marks already. Okay, so all these are model answer. Yeah, so phrase it down nicely for you already. Then for the test for gases, take note for the pop sound, must have the inverted comma. 1 or 2 inverted comma doesn't matter, but must have inverted comma. So can you circle? Make sure must have the inverted comma. Then this time round is lighted spleen, lighted spleen. Then likewise for the rest, you just go and memorize it on your own. I don't want to go through any further because all this you all by right, you all should know. Okay, so let me ask you all one question that might come out. Okay, so quite common question also. So can you all just follow and copy it down first? It's a MCQ question. Copy it down. Yeah, you still remember the answer for this? Study, I ran through in class before. Okay, so after you all are done copying, same thing, can you tell me the answer? So for those online, you can type it in the chat to let me know. You can just try, because no harm getting wrong. It's okay. Now it's not WA. Then for those physically present here, maybe A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and then D is 4. So you let me know which is your answer. Just try lah, no harm trying. No one knows the answer. No response. Again? No, good try lah, not correct. Also not correct. Thanks for trying at least. Wow, it seems like no one knows the answer. Okay, so the correct answer is, all of you done copying, right? Is this?
Huh?
Huh? Why, huh? Okay, come, let me go through. Okay, so for the A and B, I think it's very obvious that A and B are like the category of base, right? Or alkali, right? Okay, so the thing is that the key point is, do you realize I highlighted in excess? If you spam so much base and alkali, what happened to the pH of your soil? If I spam a lot of base and alkali, what happened to my soil? The pH will increase, right? So the pH will end up becoming alkaline, which is not what I wanted. I want exactly pH 7. So this one can't get me exactly 7. It will go beyond 7. Okay, so this one, the pH will be more than 7. So cannot choose alkali. Okay, then next, just now, for Isabel, she actually chose water. So what does water do? Water actually only dilute the acid. Yeah, so that means in the end, right, even if you spend a lot of water, it will still be acidic, just that it is just slightly acidic still. Yeah, because no matter how much water you add, it is still acidic, just that it is less acidic. So that's why the answer is C. Why? Because calcium carbonate, if you go and add to acidic soil, carbonate plus acid, what do you get? You get salt plus water plus carbon dioxide gas, right? So when you add this carbonate to the acidic soil, the carbon dioxide, what happens? It will actually be gone into the surrounding air. So it will escape into the air. So it doesn't affect the pH, right? So what are you left with? You are left with salt and water in the soil. Do you realize that salt and water both are neutral? Yep, so since salt and water, they are both neutral, then you know your soil will be pH neutral. And even if I spam and add a lot, right? So even if I add in excess for the CaCO3, just now I was testing your, right? CaCO3, it was the first one I test your. CaCO3, you put them under a category of, is it acid, base, alkali, or salt? Do you remember? CaCO3, which category did we classify under? Salt, correct. So salt, as mentioned, salt is always neutral. So that's why, you see, even if I spam a lot of calcium carbonate, it's okay. Even if I got calcium carbonate left, it is still neutral. My end product also neutral. So you see, no matter what it is, all the stuff that is on the soil, they are all neutral. That's why you can really get exactly pH 7. So the answer is calcium carbonate. Makes sense now, right? Okay, so done copying. Okay, I'll give you all a short while more, then I'll move on. Okay, so moving on should be done by now, right? Okay, so moving on to the last page of chemical changes, which is the pH scale. So as I told you, acid very dangerous, so always think of red. Then alkali is like you use in shower, soap is cooling, so you think of blue color. Then over here, this one don't need memorize. This one usually is application question, okay? Don't need to memorize. So usually what kind of question that they will ask you, I demo to you. So for example, I give you a beaker. So this beaker, right, have a solution of an unknown pH. So now I want you to detect what's the pH. So I tell you that now I add in phenolphthalein. Then I also add in bromo, thymol, blue. Then in the end, my solution appears to be green in color. Okay, my solution after I add these two in is green in color. Can you tell me what's the pH of this beaker? I add bromo, thymol, blue, indicator, and phenolphthalein. My solution become green.
What are does the pH indicators, do they have like are they like what's the pH?
Oh, their own pH, is
Yeah.
it? Slightly acidic. That's why usually pH indicator you cannot spam. So that's one of the possible questions that they will ask also. Like, why pH indicator cannot add a lot? Why only few droplets each time? Is because indicators, they are all slightly acidic. Yeah, so if you add too much, right, you will actually affect the pH of your original solution. So can you copy it down too? If added in excess, the pH of the solution will decrease. By the way, take note, don't say that pH will get affected. In science, don't use ambiguous word. If you use like, oh, the pH will change, teacher will underline or circle it, vague, or like be specific. Yeah, so always be specific, okay? So in science, do not ever use the word change, affect, different. Because you write and never write, no difference. Like, what's the difference? The pH, you say different, so what? It becomes acidic, neutral, or alkaline? So be specific. So you always say things like increase, decrease, or maybe it became larger or smaller. Yeah, so use specific words. Don't use such ambiguous words. Okay, so take note, science. Even until you go to Sec 4, likewise also. Don't use ambiguous words. Okay, so back to this question. So how anyone knows what's the pH? A whole number. I want whole number. Like pH 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what number? This is the kind of question that will be asked, need to know. So how about those online also? Want to give it a try? What pH is this? pH 7. Any other answers? 7 is close, but not correct. Okay, so now it is art and craft lesson time. Okay, so phenolphthalein. How to get green? Should it be colorless, like pink or pink? Which one to get green? It should be colorless, right? Then next, yellow, green, and blue. How to get green? How to get green is this one, right? Yep. So that's why in the end, it will be it must be below 8.3, but in this rate. Oh yeah, sorry. Then the answer is 7. Sorry. I see wrongly. Yep, correct. The answer, it will be pH 7. Yep, so the answer is 7. Good job. Yep, so the answer is pH 7. Yeah, because it has to be less than 8.3, and then it must be within this range. So it's colorless plus green to get green. Okay, so the answer, it will be, I want whole number, right? Oh, actually, it can be also pH 6 also. Yeah, because pH 6 is also green color. So 6 or 7, both are all right. And so that's how you get the answer. So sometimes they will give you the color, you deduce the pH. Or they give you the pH, you deduce the color. Okay, so now let me try another one. So if this time round, I say that my pH, wait, yeah, correct. If I tell you that my pH is pH 5, I added in methyl orange and bromo thymol blue. Now reverse. Instead of giving you color, you tell me what's the color. So for this question, what is the color? What's the color? Can tell? How about those online? Want to give you a try? Huh? Yellow, yes, correct. Because when it is pH 5, it's here. So that means when is it red color is when it's below 3.1. Okay, so how you read this graph is below 3.1 is red, above 4.4 is yellow. Same for here also. Below, okay, usually spring methyl orange seldom use, so I'll skip. So for bromo thymol blue is that below pH 6 is yellow, above 7.6 is blue. The same for here also. pH less than 8.3 is colorless. pH more than 10 is pink. So likewise for the last one also. So that's how you read. So in this case, since I say that it's pH 5, 5 means yellow. So for this question is yellow. Then over here, pH 5 for bromo blue, 5 is less than 6. Yellow. So both of them yellow. So the answer will be yellow. And understand? And anyways, the color in the center column, right, the transition range is actually just a mixture of color. Like for example, red plus yellow, you know, in art, red plus yellow, I'll get orange. Purple and green, I think mixed together is like some shitty, disgusting color. So it becomes gray. Then yellow and blue, obviously you mix, you'll get green, right? Then colorless and pink, you mix together, you get light pink. Okay, so the center one is just a mixture of the two colors. Yep, so these are the kind of question that they will ask you. Also, don't need to memorize the table. They will give you the table. They need to deduce the answer. Yes. Because litmus is like either it will like remain, like if it's neutral, right, it will like remain red or remain blue. But usually litmus, we don't use solution. We tend to use litmus paper. Yeah, so this one can also cross it out. So the more commonly tested ones are methyl orange, bromo blue, and phenolphthalein. Okay, so yep, done for chemical changes. Yeah, it's a huge topic. Okay, so done with this. So just to let you know that I will actually be providing you practice paper on chemical changes. Yep, so you can actually bring home to do it. Then you can actually check it also, because I'll be providing you the answer key also. Yeah, so this is the worksheet. So let me just distribute to those who are physically present here. Hold on. By the way, while I'm distributing, anyone like want to like take some snacks while waiting? If you want, you go and help yourself with snacks.
Serious?
Yes.
What about force?
For the very short chapter, later I pass you the note, just like 3-4 finish. They're very fast. I think maybe okay, I don't give you anymore. Maybe for the other tuition. Just revise the original worksheet then. Yep, so take one and pass down. Okay, let me distribute the forces note, which is very thin. I think maybe like 4 pages.
Okay, so can I have the QR code for this because my friend
Oh, okay, can. If I keep your friend, right now, or after class, we will check. Okay, so we'll now move on to the forces note, which is really very short because forces is like physics is like math. It's like you just need to practice. And then you practice already, then you can score well already. So it's not like much things to study from notes. Different from chem and bio. Chem and bio is really very heavy content. You need to study the notes. But for forces, it's physics. Physics is practice. So if you look at the notes, it's really very short. Yeah. Wait. Is there any like extra forces? Yeah, so all of you should receive 2 worksheets. One is the chemistry worksheet that you can bring home to self-study, and then the forces notes. Is there any one with spare? Again, sorry?
Oh, you need a
I give you extra chem.
I really heard from and I didn't get.
Oh, you don't have physics. Okay, then I print out one more copy of the physics. This notes. Okay, let me print now. Yes. Oh, okay, okay, no, then you pass it to her then. Okay, then I don't need to print. Then I can start. Thank you. Okay, so anyways, maybe you just share with Isabella. Yeah, but anyway, you have it, so I think it should be no problem. By the way, the answer key for the chemistry worksheet, I'll give it to you all after class. Okay. Okay, so let's begin for forces. So for forces topic, I would say it's quite relatively easy topic. Yeah. So need to know the unit is Newton. Then whenever you draw the arrow, take note that the length matters. Okay. So that means if your arrow is like short, that means your force is very small. So if I have maybe 8 Newton, by right, if I draw the arrow, I should double the length. Okay, so the length is proportional to the amount of force. Okay, so can you all like draw it in? And then force must show direction, so must have arrowhead. Done labeling. Can I move on? Okay, then effects of force. This one you all learned before in primary school, right? So this one you self-study. Okay, I will skip. Okay, so moving on to the next part here, resultant force. So take note that for forces, if your forces are balanced, like maybe I pull 2 Newton to the left, and then I also pull 2 Newton to the right, the forces are balanced out. So when they are balanced, we will say that resultant force will be 0. Because 2 minus 2 is 0. Yeah, so by right, the speed will remain the same. That means if the object is stationary, it will remain stationary. If the object is moving, it will continue moving because there's no resultant force. That means no opposing force to slow it down. There is also no like extra forward force to push it forward. That's why it will remain the same if the resultant force is 0. Chelsea and Sophia, you're done copying? Because I'm moving on. Okay, then next is if it's unbalanced forces. So unbalanced forces, it could be like maybe 5 Newton versus 1 Newton, like that. So then the speed will change off. So if forward force is more, overall it will start speeding up. Okay, so moving on to the next part. The different forces, take note on how to label. So for weight or gravitational force, you always draw from center and must be downwards. Okay, so that means even if your object is like maybe on a slope, yeah, so for your weight, you must still label downwards from the center. And even if the object is slanted, it is still downward. Then for magnetic force and electric force, you just use what you normally know. Unlike attract, like repel. Then take note that weight, magnetic force, and electric force, they are non-contact forces. Because sometimes they might ask you, identify like, MCQ, which of the following is a non-contact force? So they maybe give you a lot of contact force, then only one of them here, then you must choose that option. Okay, so this is non-contact force. Then for contact forces, it will be these four. So there will be normal contact force, which you always draw from the point of contact. So it's from the surface. That's why it's called contact force, because you draw from the point of contact and it must be perpendicular to the surface. So if your object is slanted, your 90-degree must perpendicular to your surface. Upthrust, it would be an upward force exerted by water. So this one is only when got water, then we'll have usually by water lah. Yep, so that's why the water is acting on the surface of the ball. That's why you draw the arrow from the surface of the ball. Then tension is on the rope. My tension drawing a bit inaccurate. Sorry, can you use your correction tape and can you erase this? Hello, are you following? Can you erase this away? Because by right, the tension should be on the string. Have you all erased the below part away? So make sure you use correction tape and erase it away, okay? Sorry, the line got shifted. So usually we will draw it on the string or rope. So that means if your string or rope is here, you draw on the string or rope, okay? Then friction always go against motion. That's why if the object is sliding down, friction should go up. But usually your school not so nice lah. They won't test you so simple friction. Usually the common WA question, right, that I see from your seniors is they like to test the complicated friction at this time. Yeah, so you pay close attention. Why is it complicated? You listen to me explain, then you will know now. So there is, okay, so for a person walking, although the person is walking forward, but the friction is also forward. Why? Friction should oppose motion. How come is it same direction? It's because in order to walk forward, I think you know, right? Like if this is my surface, to walk, I need to push backwards. Yeah, so that's why the friction will push, it's like my person will exert a force. F means force, F is force. I push backwards. That's why friction should be forward. Because my force is backwards, friction should be forward. Backward against forward. Okay, then for the engine powered wheel, this one maybe can you have it to extend a little bit? The line got shifted. Whenever you draw friction, right, you extend it, yeah, because friction always have to be from the point of contact. So can you draw from the point of contact? Help me to extend a bit, Ken? Thank you. So for friction, how come the car move forward, yet my friction is also forward? The reason is because if this engine powered wheel, that means the engine will cause the wheel to turn this way, right? Because only when my wheel turn this way, my car then can drive forward. Can you visualize it? Can? So if my car were to turn this way, so this is actually the engine force. So the engine force is this direction to the left when near the surface. That's why friction should oppose it. So friction should point towards the right. Okay, so let me go through with you. If the wheel is not engine, the wheel is free moving, like you know those wooden toy car, and then like you just push it and then they roll, right? So that kind, how will the friction be? It will be opposite. Okay, so let me just go through this with you. This is one of the questions that later I'll go through with you one of the questions that came out 2 years ago in WA. Yep. Okay, so right, if it's a free moving wheel, that means like a toy car. So maybe like it's like on a ramp, then maybe it's like sliding to the left. So what happened is that if it's free moving, how come the friction is this way? Is because the only force that is present is only friction. So that means friction is the one that caused the wheel to turn. Because this toy car, this is wooden toy car, don't have any remote control engine inside. Okay, this is a wooden toy car, don't have any remote control engine. So how come the wheel turn is because of friction? You imagine, if my surface is smooth with oil or maybe a layer of ice, if I have any car wheel or like car, I put on it, if no friction, my car will just skid down, right? The wheel don't even rotate, it will just skid down, correct? If don't have friction. So how come for free moving car, how come the wheel will rotate is because there is friction. So friction is the one that allows the wheel to rotate. Yeah, so that's why in this case, if my car is moving this way, that means I need to make sure that my wheel must rotate this way, right? And since the only force I have is friction, that's why friction has to push this way to make the wheel move. Okay? Okay, so if I were to compare it with this engine-powered wheel, which is similar to on top, can you tell that this is engine-powered? Because you got the pedaling there, right? So it's like your legs are like the so-called engine, of course you exert force. But the front one, do you realize there's no bicycle chain? So the front wheel is actually known as free moving. Then you see, once it's free moving versus engine powered, the direction is different already for the friction. Why? Because if it's engine powered, it means that I am pedaling to turn my wheel this direction. So this is the force from my legs. Yeah, I pedal to make the wheel turn in this anti-clockwise direction. So friction need to oppose the motion. That's why friction is forward. So that means, in other words, for this scenario over here, what are the forces present? It will be the force from the leg as well as frictional force. So that's why this time round, since you have a force from the leg, the friction will want to oppose the on top force. So that's why they will oppose the above. Yeah, so that's why the force points to the right near the surface, friction will point to the left. As compared to the front moving wheel, okay, so for the front moving wheel, because there's no pedaling force, so the force from the leg is not present. The only force that I have is friction because it's rubbing against the surface. But in order for my bicycle to, you can tell, right, my bicycle is moving this way. In order for my bicycle to move forward, and only friction is the only force that is present, then if I want my wheel to rotate this way, only friction can do it. So friction should be this direction because friction is the only one that can rotate my wheel. Because without friction, my wheel won't even rotate. It will just skid. Yeah, so that's why this time around the friction should be this way so that my wheel can rotate. Clear? Yeah, so that's why this time around the friction force is like that. Okay, so let me test you the one that came out in your seniors WA that a lot of people got it wrong. Yeah, it's like the almost the whole cohort got it wrong kind. Yeah. Okay, so now let's draw in a slope. Okay, then you have a, okay, wait. Sorry, let me draw in the slope this way instead. Oops, sorry. Okay, so now I have a slope, then I have a toy car. So this one is a wooden toy car, okay? Can you follow me and draw in this diagram? Okay, so after you are done drawing the diagram, can you draw in the frictional force at the wheels? Once you are done, you draw in the frictional force for the wheels. Then for those online, you can also type it in the chat to let me know, do you think the frictional force is pointing up slope or down slope? So up slope or down slope? If you can draw correctly, means you understand what I've been teaching so far. If it's a wooden toy car, do you think the car will roll up or roll down naturally? So I will roll down naturally, right? So this is the direction that the car will move.
Well, it wasn't pushed.
No, I just put the toy car on the ramp, then I let go already. So I never push. So it's really like that, a wooden toy car on a ramp. Then it will just move on its own. So for those physically here, in the end, which direction do you all draw the friction? Is it upslope or downslope?
Upslope.
Yes, very good. The answer is upslope. Why? Because this time round, what is the force that causes the wheel to rotate? It's friction, right? Because without friction, the wheel will just skid down the ramp. So you need friction to rotate the wheels. So that's why friction should be this way, so that your wheel will rotate. By the way, take note, for your school, friction, spell it out, don't write F. Like wait also, don't just write W, spell out WEIGHT. Because for your seniors, they are WA, when they write shortcut, right, they really get 0 marks. Yeah, even though all the arrow direction, everything correct. But because they use shortcut, right, W or normal contact force, N, then friction, they use F, then no marks. Okay, must spell it out for your school. Yeah, so the answer, it will be upslope. Yes, very good. Joy is correct too. Okay, so hope you understand. If you don't understand, you just read through again. Anyways, the lesson today is recorded too. So if you want the recording to listen to this whole part again, you just let me know. I can send you the recording after class. Okay, so the next few parts are very easy. This one you can self-study on your own. The difference between mass and weight, the formula, I think should be no problem, right? So let's just quickly note down all the SI unit. Because if you didn't write it in the correct unit, then you no more marks. Yep, so can you all quickly note down the units? By the way, sometimes I would say the tricky one that they like to play with the unit, I would say is like area. If they give you in cm square, need to know how to convert. So 1 meter square is 40 cm square. Because 1 meter is 100. They need to square it. So from 2 zeros you square, it will become 40. Okay, so 2 0 become 4 zeros. Then again, same thing, there's the answering technique. So answering technique is for explain answers. So whenever they ask you to explain, like maybe the lady wears stiletto heel, then how come her heel always sink into the grass? And then this will be the answer. So you say that the stiletto heel have small base area, just copy everything. Then you just change the word according to the context of the question will do. So as long as answering technique, this one, please memorize it. So can you also put a star to remind yourself? Must memorize. This is like model template answer. If come out right, you just copy and paste, you get full marks already. Okay, so this kind of marks should score, because this kind is like you can prepare for your test. Those that's like difficult or application question, if you can't score, then that kind is alright. Okay, so done noting down. Write down, must memorize, right? Yeah, write it down, must memorize. Okay, then I think I'm done already. That's all. This one is just a commonly tested question. You can just read through on your own, because the question and the answers are all provided. So done. That's all for the lesson for today. Okay, so same thing also for this topic. I've also provided your practice papers, which I'll be passing it down later. Then for all the worksheets, -1 just means it is slash. Where do you see the -1? Where can I, so I can show it to you? Oh, here. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have used this. That is the upper set version. Sorry. So instead of -1, minus means slash. It means slash to the power of 1. Yeah, so you can change it to slash. Sorry. Okay, so for the forces also, if you have time, I'll recommend you to go and practice the worksheet. Then let me give you all the answers to the 2 worksheets. That means chemical changes, worksheet answer key, and forces, worksheet answer key. So let me show it to you. Hold on, wait. Let me show it to you. Hold on. Okay, so the chemical changes one is on the left. Then for those who are physically here, I'll give it to you, so you don't need to scan. So this is more for those who are online. The forces on the right. I think you can see the title right here, right? Forces. Here is chemical changes answer key. Yep. So can you all scan the QR code and download it so that you have the answers to them? Yep. So anyways, I shall end off the session here. So hope that this lesson has made you like feel clearer, especially those like small minor concept and those common mistakes. Hope you are clearer today. So I recommend that you start revising earlier so that don't leave it to last minute. If not, like cannot study finish. Then anyways, in future, if you feel that like when you need like tuition help, feel free to like contact me since you all have my number. Or if you lost my number, you can just contact OVERMUGGED. Yep. So Yeah, so yeah, that will be all for today. Yep, so hope you all have benefited from the lesson. Yep, that's all for today then. Bye bye.